So I'm going to get started, first of all, by thanking, we have several students to my right and to my left. These are members of the Student Government Association. I want to thank them for being here this evening. This is a student-driven, student-generated program whereby it was actually the students that made contact with the inductees and gathered information, and they'll be speaking to those inductees this evening. Likewise, the SGA members have been and or will be in touch with the inductees. As you walked in, hopefully you walked down the hallway, you saw the current members of our Hall of Fame distinguished alumni. And each plaque, of course, has the accomplishments. We try to condense it as much as possible, and the students that are here this evening are going to be working on those plaques and may need to communicate with the inductees after the program and in days to come, but we do want to get those plaques up as soon as we can. I do want to thank Ellis Freudenfeld. She is the advisor of the Student Government Association. Ellis, thank you very much. Ellis worked with the students on this project. Also, this evening would not be possible. The setup would not be as it is if it weren't for my secretary, Bev Moscow. Bev, thank you very much. So I do want to mention the small plaques that are on the table. We're going to keep those here until we conclude the evening, and then the inductees are welcome, and the plaques are yours at the conclusion of the evening to take home as a memento or as a souvenir. And of course, a wall plaque will go up in our Hall of Fame in the very near future. So the way this evening is going to work, we have students kind of working in pairs. They'll be coming up to the podium. They will be mentioning the inductee that they were assigned to or they chose, and they'll be reading the accomplishments of that inductee. When they're finished, the inductee has, if he or she is interested, to come up and say a few words, even if it's more than a few words. That's up to you. It's your night. You're welcome to do that. In the past, that's generally been the custom. Before I turn things over to the SGA, the Student Government Association, I do want to introduce Laura Sodursky. She is the president of the Alumni Association. She just has a few things she wants to welcome you and has a few things she wants to draw to your attention. Laura.
I just want to say that you're all in great company being assigned to this Wall of Honor. The Alumni Association was started to help the school. Unfortunately, we have been reduced in number, but we still try to help Dr. Hayes if it's possible, and we also offer our brick walk. If you're around, please go and look and see. The inscription on some of the bricks are very interesting, and for $50 you can purchase a brick and have your inscription on it, and then have the pleasure of seeing it eventually going all the way up to the football bowl, right? And then the other thing too, we offer the nominations that you people have been awarded this year, and the applications are in Dr. Hayes' office. The Alumni Association has been very active, and unfortunately now we need personnel to keep it going. So if any of these wonderful students sitting here that have done a job on this program want to volunteer to help, Mrs. Moskal or the office can put you in touch with us. The other thing I do want to say is that the cooperation that we get from people in anything we try to do has been phenomenal. The money that we do garner from the sale of bricks or other things that we do provide scholarships. We give $1,000 a year to students, and we have a committee that assesses them, and then we don't give the check to the child. Or young student, I should say. We send it to the bursar at the college to make sure it gets credited to them. So again, congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your attention.
So just I want to mention to those people coming up to the podium, I have a cafeteria voice. Some of you may or may not. So as Laura did, speak into the mic if you don't. Secondly, one more person I want to thank, and that's Marie Leppert. Marie is kind of the liaison between the Alumni Association and the school. So Marie and I have been in contact for the last, several, this past year regarding planning this program and honoring the inductees for this evening. So with that, I'm going to bring our first two members of the Student Government Association up, Lauren and Nicole, and they will be introducing to you Jamie Novick.
Good evening. Jamie Novick graduated Scotch Plains Fanwood High School in 1990. She went on to study then at Union County College to earn a degree in communications. Her career as a professional organizer started in an unorthodox way. While she was employed at Muhlenberg Hospital, a friend asked her to help organize in preparation for a move. Ms. Novick did, and then started to find more offers from other friends to help them organize. Once she had gathered a group of clients, she received the idea of hosting group discussions about organization. Hesitantly, she decided to, and the start of her business began.
Currently, Ms. Novick tours the country speaking about organization to upwards of 15,000 people. She has published 5 best-selling novels on organization and has offices in both New Jersey and Los Angeles. She has also written numerous articles on organization and has appeared on many shows for her work.
Ms. Novick credits her love for writing back to the high school. To this day, she still has papers she wrote with comments from her teachers, which have helped foster a love of writing. Even during our interview, she quoted that all of her memories at the high school were fond.
Today, Ms. Novick loves what she is doing and is grateful for her community for standing with her. She encourages everyone to pursue their passion and do something every day that they love.
Thank you, and please welcome Ms. Novick.
Memorabilia with me. So thank you, ladies. That was lovely. Much appreciated. I'm so grateful to be one of the newest honorees of the Scotch Plains Fanwood High School Hall of Fame. Oh, it's so exciting. A big thank you to Miss Marie Leppert. We've become very good friends through the years. And the moment I received the letter from Dr. Hayes, I knew I had to go back through my treasure trove of special items and find all the things that I've saved from my years at school. Report cards and a napkin from my graduation. That's thanks to my mom who saved all these treasures for me. My commencement program and of course my diploma, which all of these items mean so very much. And when I received the letter, I thought, I have to kind of take a moment and reminisce and sort of just remember all the years and the strong foundation that Scotch Plains Fanwood High School has really brought to me. All of the classes I attended, and it's absolutely true that I do have some of my first papers in English, A++. And so as I was sort of reminiscing and looking through all of these different treasures and pieces that I've kept through the years, I started to wonder if you too might think, as sitting in the classroom, I wonder if I'll use all these skills in my life. Once I graduate and go on, will I be taking all of the things that I'm learning and actually apply them in my day-to-day living? And I'm here to tell you, you probably will. And I'm not sure that I believed it at the moment, as sitting in the classroom and learning so many wonderful things, but I know for sure. And so as I remember, well, Ms. Jascott and her science, I didn't actually think how I would apply that to my life going forward. But of course now, spatial relations is so very important as we're thinking about, will that box of clutter fit into the garage, or do I need to, pare it down so that it's a little smaller? Mr. Gowdy, social studies and things, he was just wonderful in teaching me perseverance. As I was pursuing my passion in writing, I brought to show and share with you this evening, these are all rejection letters from publishers as I was sending my manuscripts around trying to get published. And each and every one of these no's got me closer to a yes. And so I save them as a fond memory. And what's so very interesting is that so many of the people that rejected, I've come to work with in the future. So it was just a no for now. It wasn't a no forever. So I learned that in school as well. And Miss Snyder's class, math, not my best class, but so very useful in now doing all of my accounting and bookkeeping and billing in my own company. So again, very, very useful. And Ms. Kling, physical education, getting my muscles all toned and strong for all the clutter that I have to move as I'm helping people organize their garages and basements and things. And my foreign language teachers that have now helped me because so many of my books have been translated into other languages, so that's always useful. Public speaking, and of course English. English being what's nearest and dearest to my heart. If you'd like, I'd be happy to show you later of the very first book that I wrote. I was about 5 years old. It's stapled, and I sold it for $0.25 at one of my parents' dinner parties. And so this is where my love of writing and English really started. And then, of course, to come through the school system that really supported me as a writer. This is one of the comments from one of my English teachers that said, "I enjoyed reading this. You might want to write a book one day." And so I thought, well, yes, that sounds right. I think I do want to write a book one day. And so that became all of this, best-selling books just through perseverance and having that strong foundation and education and support that brought me from writing my first little book to being a best-selling author, traveling the world, motivating people, to just pare down to what they use and love, and creating a company that allows me to do what I love each and every day. So as I wrap up, and thank you so much for this honor, I'll just say one final thing. As I'm helping people clear clutter, really what I hope for them is that they will pare down to just what they use and love, so that they can become really focused on the things that matter most, the things that make them happiest. So they have the clarity, the time, the energy to focus on what makes them happy. What makes me very happy is to now be able to look back on this evening, on this fond memory and this awesome honor. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for having me. Good luck. Thank you.
So as you can see, one thing we tried to determine is what order should we go in, and we thought, well, we could go alphabetical order, but we decided to go in the most recent graduate to the graduate from years past. So we started with Jamie. We're going to go on to David Blitzer. I'm going to ask Isabella and Marin to come up to the podium.
David S. Blitzer joined Blackstone in 1991. He is the global head of Blackstone's Tactical Opportunities Group and a member of the firm's management and operating committees. Mr. Blitzer is also co-managing partner and co-chairman of Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, which includes in its portfolio the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Jersey Devils, leading venue Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the Grammy Museum Experience, Prudential Center, the Delaware Bluecoats, the Binghamton Devils, the Sixers Innovation Lab, crafted by Kimball, renowned esports franchise team Dignitas, and NBA 2K League team, 76ers Gaming Club.
Additionally, he is a general partner of the Crystal Palace Football Club. Mr. Blitzer and his wife Allison founded the Blitzer Family Foundation, which supports positive youth development by creating opportunities centered around education, athletics, health, and wellness. The Blitzer Family Foundation's ongoing mission is to strengthen communities by assisting young people in reaching their full potential. Mr. Blitzer is based in New York and graduated magna cum laude from the Wharton School of University of Pennsylvania. Mr. Blitzer currently serves on the boards of DREAM, a youth development organization servicing more than 2,200 inner schools of the Mount Sinai Surgical Department, the Board of Overseers at the Wharton School, and the Board of Trustees at the University of Pennsylvania.
Welcome, Mr. Blitzer.
Thank you very much. That was very cool, actually. Guess I probably wrote that myself. So look, I'd love to start by just congratulating Jamie and Joe and Amy as well. It's it's an honor to be able to be inducted into the Scotch Plains Family Hall of Fame with you all, and congratulations on all of your incredible achievements. Secondly, I'd like to thank whoever it was, probably one of the knuckleheads over there, that actually nominated me for this, and definitely not a knucklehead, who nominated for me for this, and to the Scotch Plains Family High School Alumni Association for bestowing such an honor on me. So I'd like to just start by really thanking where it all started for me in Scotch Plains, which is my parents who are hanging out over there. They were always absolutely fantastic role models for me. And as we were having dynamics and debates during my high school years, because I was such a well-behaved young person, they continuously said to me, we'll let you stay at Scotch Plains Family High School as long as you do well, and as soon as you start messing up, we're pulling you very quickly. And that kept me very much in line, because I absolutely loved this school and I loved every day that I attended here. So thank you. You guys inspire me still every day. I'd love to thank my brother and sister. My sister happens to be here. They both went to Scotch Plains Family High School. And we all had very similar teachers back then. Unfortunately, I don't think, I was asking earlier if any of the teachers that I had are still here, but they definitely were, having my sister and older brother go through the school. And they set an amazing path for me and made it a lot easier for me, because every time I went into a classroom, they'd say, is Lori your sister? I'm like, well, there's not that many blitzers. And then they'd say, well, we love your sister. And I said, all right, I'm in good shape here right now. They did that for my brother too, but my sister was like the angel. And then obviously I'd like to thank my wife and my kids. Thanks, Allie. You guys inspire me every day as well. And obviously I have to put up with my complete and utter chaos that I bring to the family and everything around me every day, which is always a lot of fun. But look, I just want to say a couple of words about Scotch Plains Family High School. I mean, it's where I developed my closest friendships. A lot of my friends actually made it out. Very cool of you all. And to this day, some of my best friends, many of my best friends, are all still from Scotch Plains Family High School. And people always say to me, I lived in London for like 10 years, so I got away and I didn't see people as much. And I moved back about 7 years ago, I guess, in 2011, back to the US. And I'd say within the first year that I was back, I was getting together with my friends from high school on quite a regular basis. And we try to do our reunions. I thought we were talking about trying to do one every year, but we've certainly been doing them every 5 years. And it was just an incredible class. And I love seeing folks, even knocking in a couple of my friends that have kids here who are just here watching, like a basketball game. It was a unique experience from my perspective. I absolutely loved it. It set me on the path. It kept me in line most of the time. Every once in a while, it was a little bit of a jagged line, but it was really a fantastic place, and you all should be so lucky that you're sitting here in your high school years. I'm telling you, these are the best years. You'll love college too, then it gets a little bit harder. But enjoy it every day, and thank you again for this honor, and really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Blitzer. Just a couple things. You notice the plaques in front of me, and also the plaques on the wall, with the exception of one of the inductees. We had the yearbook from every year of when we were Scotch Plains High School and when we became Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. So we have the senior picture. So our inductees will be forever young when their plaques go up on the walls of Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. Also, before we move on to Amy Ellis Nutt, who wasn't able to be here this evening, but we do want to just mention her achievements. I do want to acknowledge Dr. Margaret Hayes is our superintendent, and she is here this evening. Dr. Hayes, thank you. And I know I saw two board members, I believe Evan Murray and Karen Kolakowski are here as well, but thank you very much. Evan and then, who else? I'm looking to see who else. Oh, Tanya Williams. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Tanya. All right. Tanya Williams as well. All right. So, as I indicated, Amy was not able to be here this evening, but we have Persis and Rosie who are going to speak to her accomplishments.
Hi. Can everyone hear me first of all? Oh yeah. Hi, I'm Rosie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Persis Ba, and we're
Senior representative for SGA.
Yes.
Okay, we'd like to introduce you all to Miss Nutt, an accidental journalist, as she has called herself. Miss Nutt's first impression of journalism is probably exactly like ours. She thought it was about poetry and novel writing. She attended Smith College, a liberal arts college in Northampton, Massachusetts, where she studied journalism. After graduating from Smith College, she attended Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where she received her master's. She had her first journalist job at Sports Illustrated, where she was a fact checker for the different sports. After writing her own personal story of her love for baseball, she decided to leave scene as she liked being a fan of the sport rather than writing about them.
She then became a freelance writer at the New York Star-Ledger, where she spent 16 years traveling and writing about different topics, but ultimately had to leave because of the rise of the internet. Ms. Nutt became bored with her journalistic profession and started to feel the pressure to have high-ranking stories. Her first book was written about the life of a transgender twin who is now an actress and is thriving in a popular show called Supergirl. Ms. Nutt is currently a science writer at the Washington Post, but will be leaving at the end of this year to focus on writing her new book. The new book will contain the history of mental health treatment in America, something she personally dealt with, and how there are other options that will be less aggressive. So, even though she couldn't be here tonight, we do want to welcome Ms. Nutt into the Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Thank you, Persis and Rosie, and we will make sure that Ms. Nutt gets her plaque, and we will continue to communicate with her. Okay, we finished the evening with Joe Scarpati, and I'm going to ask Ryan and Rohan to come up and introduce Joe Scarpati.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ryan, and this is my friend Rohan, and we are the sophomore class officers for the Student Government Association here at the high school. We are here tonight to introduce Mr. Scarpati and welcome him to the SPF Hall of Fame.
Mr. Scarpati is a kind and humble man who is revered for his hard work ethic and spectacular football skills. Mr. Scarpati transferred to the Scotch Plains Family High School in the middle of his sophomore year. He played football for the Raiders and established himself as a dominant player on the team. After high school, Mr. Scarpati went to play football at the North Carolina State on a scholarship.
After his time at North Carolina State, Mr. Scarpati went on to play football professionally in the NFL. He started off his career as a free agent before being picked up by the Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings, and finally finding himself a spot on the Philadelphia Eagles. Mr. Scarpati worked so hard for each team he played for, and he really valued the opportunities given to him. He ended his career at the New Orleans Saints, where he was part of Tom Dempsey's legendary 63-yard field goal. Mr. Scarpati finishes his career with an astounding 25 interceptions, which is a feat to behold.
Besides his accomplishments in football, Mr. Scarpati has found success off the field as well. Mr. Scarpati took the necessary steps to become a real estate appraiser and then a real estate broker, after which he became a builder of homes and then vice president of Standard Parking. Mr. Scarpati is currently holding a consultant for real estate and parking.
As you can see, Mr. Scarpati is a determined and conscientious man. He has not been scared to work hard and get where he wants to in life. We cannot think of anybody else who is more deserving of an SPF Hall of Fame induction. However, before we welcome Mr. Scarpati to the stage, we would like to welcome Governor DeFrancesco to say a few words.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Heisey, thank you for this. And I want to thank the students for continuing this ceremony year after year. And before I get to Joe, I wanted to congratulate Jamie. It was absolutely fantastic what you've done and accomplished. And David, my sister is Marie Leppert. I'm the knucklehead in the family. She's the brains of the family. You know? And I think Marie, I guess Marie, knowing my daughter Marie,
we started talking about you on many occasions. And so I'm happy. I knew you when you were in high school. You were a regular guy. Of course, we didn't have social media, fortunately, in those days. And I knew your parents better. Great people, terrific supporters and friends. And I knew them pretty well back in those days. So congratulations to you, Jamie, to Amy, who's not here, and now to Joe. And I want to mention that Coach Zanowitz is here. He's always around. We have a reunion. He shows up. I mean, if he was from Scotch Plains, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. But he's not. He came from Pennsylvania, like a lot of other teachers, and came to teach in New Jersey. So, Coach, I played baseball for Coach Zanowitz a couple of years. I know Joe did. Joe didn't hit very high, or average-wise, but you're a good friend, and I know you want to say a few words too, because you know a lot more about Joe than I did in high school. So, but I want to say this about Joe Scarpati, who finally is he's a 60 graduate. Jamie's a 90 graduate. So Joe's an old guy, but I was in high school with him. So I don't think there's anybody else here who could say that they were in high school at the same time that Joe was in high school. But am I correct? Pete, you're much older. Anybody else here? Well, I'm not counting you. Yeah. So I was a sophomore, Joe was a senior, so I was 2 years behind. He really looked at me as a squirt, just a kind of a pain in the neck. But he talked to me because Danny Remlin was my cousin's boyfriend, and that's probably the only reason why he ever talked to me. But Joe's famous for his football skills, traditionally, but as someone who was in the school at that time, Joe was a leader in that school, was kind of the face of our school for a couple of years. I mean, he transferred fortunately for us, he came from North Plainfield and came to play 3 sports for us, not just football. He played basketball and baseball too. So he was, I think people would run through walls for him if he asked them to. He was that kind of leader, not just had good football skills, but he was a tough guy and his leader. Now, he then went on to this football factory in North Carolina State. I went to an academic institution, Penn State, and I always wondered why he didn't go to Penn State. I mean, Joe Paterno, Italian thing, and Brian Hodge from North Plainfield was there. Bob Intronisi from North Plainfield was there. Pete Lisk was our quarterback. And I'm saying, what's Joe doing with the Rednecks down in North Carolina State? But he did, and he excelled. And he did he had a great career in North Carolina State. He went on to play professionally. You've already heard that. David, I don't know if you knew Joe, or if you knew about Joe at that before tonight, but he's famous in South Jersey with the Eagles fans who are all crazy. Being a Giants fan, they're all kind of crazy. But Joe, I'm going to tell, if I could, Coach, I'll just tell 2 things that I have many things I could say about Joe. And we became great friends later. And when I was in office, he was a big supporter of mine. When I was governor in 2001, he helped me a lot, and we did kind of reunite, and it was a great thing because he is a leader in many facets of his life and has done many, many great things for people. But Coach, when we were, I was on the JV basketball team. You didn't know that probably, but Joe was on the varsity, and once in a while Schnitzer made us play against the varsity. So one time I had to guard Joe, and he didn't really know me, and I was guarding him pretty tight, He gave me a shot to the ribs, and I never told him this, but for like 2 weeks I couldn't hardly breathe. He just wanted to teach me a couple lessons. And that's one thing I remember. The other thing, and you would remember this. Fortunately, you were there because you were big and strong. I'm playing center field for the JV baseball team, and the varsity's playing on the other field in Cranford. We're in Cranford. We're playing Cranford JV, and I'm playing center field. Nobody in those days, we didn't have gloves. We had wood bats. Nobody was hitting the ball out to center field, so it was kind of boring. So I was watching the other game, and then I guess there was a scuffle at the plate with your catcher, and our catcher got into a scuffle with the Cranford guy, and Joe's a shortstop, as I recall, and runs to help out. And the other coach is Hubie Brown. And everybody knows anybody who follows basketball knows Hubie Brown, and he was the coach of the varsity baseball team in Cranford, and he picked a fight with Joe. And then fortunately for Joe, you had to step in and break it up because, Hubie Brown was famous. Joe would have gotten in a lot of trouble. But those are the two incidents, Joe, that I remember about your illustrious career in sports. But I wanted to be here because you deserve to be in this Hall of Fame. I probably should have made an effort like this years ago, but I'm glad you came here, and I know your son is here, and it's just a great honor to be with you tonight, Joe, because I have great respect and great love for you and the way you played not only the game, but the way you lived your life. So I want to thank all of you for being here. This is a terrific honor for all these people. It's an honor for me to be part of this group, and I just want to thank you then, Dr. Heise, and Laura, thank you, another DeFrancesco, for all the efforts you put into all these years into this ceremony and what precedes the ceremony. Thank you, kids. And
Donnie.
Thank you.
Show them some of those pictures. No, on the table.
On the table.
Those are pictures of Joe.
Well, Joe didn't hit very well, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's where he's.
This was a bunt.
He's laying a bunt to get on base, and
But
that's making a tackle with the New York Giants. Yeah, and the other one is he's an academic All-American.
yes,
Which
it wasn't just football. He was,
Which destroys the perception that
Well,
all
that's
all
what
athletes
you
are
name
not
all
too
ages
intelligent.
because of football.
Joe proved them wrong.
But you wanted to say something? Coach, if you want to say
A
something?
little bit. All right.
Now, you must have been young in those days. I'm 74. What the hell?
I got a bum leg. Well, most everything has been covered already, so they took all my thunder away, so I'll just say a few words. About Joe in baseball, if you have to put a label on him, he'd have to be like a Pete Rose, a Charlie Hustle. I mean, there was a way you saw the picture. Let me show you. He's laying down a butt at Clark just to get the ball in play so we can get something started. And if he was on base, he was going to make sure he had advanced. And Donnie mentioned the fact that he had a little scuffle with Hubie Brown at Cranford. That's when he stole home. And that was a little touchy situation. And this is a picture where he was with making a tackle with the New York Giants. I don't know where I had this old newspaper. And the other one you saw where he was an academic All-American. So I'm really proud of Joe, and I'm really glad that I had an opportunity to work with people like Joe and Donnie and so many other people. A few of them are in the Hall of Fame. So these athletes and students, I think, made the coaches look pretty good. So I want to thank him again and congratulate him. And thanks again, Joe, and good luck. God bless.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zanowitz, Governor DeFrancesco. I do want to mention that the Hall of Fame has been in existence since the early 2000s, and it actually stemmed from a committee that had at the high school comprised of staff members and students, and we asked the question of how can we inspire students to succeed beyond the high school? What are some things that we can do to help to motivate students? And the Hall of Fame was one of the things that came out of that meeting. The idea being, if we have role models that have graduated from this high school, and those role models are posted in locations in the building, that is one thing we can do to demonstrate that this high school has produced some outstanding individuals that are great role models for our students. And we inducted 4 outstanding role models this evening. And lastly, I do want to mention that our Hall of Fame is based on nominations, and I'm sure there are many, many more individuals that graduated from Scotch Plains Fanwood High School that are certainly deserving of being in this Hall of Fame. So spread the word. We induct every other year. So in the fall of 2020 will be our next induction, and hopefully we'll have a class to induct at that time. I do want to remind the inductees, these plaques are yours. Also, a reminder to the inductees, if you haven't communicated with the two students that you were working with, I think most of you have, we want to get the wording on your wall plaque finalized as soon as possible. Laura Sidursky asked me to remind everyone we do have refreshments. There's plenty of time. I know there will want to be some pictures and so on. And then we're going to have Joe Scarpetti come up and he's going to finish up the evening. Joe?
Thank you, Dr. Heisey. Appreciate the Sports Hall of Fame board for nominating me. Mr. Goody, I was told, was one of the past graduates that nominated me. Of course, Lenny and Governor DeFrancisco. Naturally, I appreciate your comments. I think it was mentioned that I came in the middle of my sophomore year. I played at North Plainfield that fall. We had an undefeated team, 9-0. January, my father says, we're going to Fanwood. He built this house and we're moving. So naturally, being in grade school with all the people from North Plainfield, it was kind of a shock to me, like to be in a new school and starting all over. But as I look back on that time, because the teachers, the coaches, all kind of accepted me, and I remember one teacher, she said, Joe, if you would just work a little harder, you could do so much better. And I kind of took it to heart and tried to do, since nobody knew me, I worked a little harder. And lo and behold, I look back on that time now and say that I became a better student from that time on because I really focused on it, and I really, all through college as well. So that changeover from one school to another in the middle of the year, over the Christmas holiday, it was kind of a shock, but I was well accepted by the teachers and the players, sports has a way of having you transition, helps make the transition a little better. But as I look back on that time, I really became a different student and a different person from those early years. I want to tell you one quick story. I was in New Orleans 1 year. I was also the holder of the ball and not just defensive back, but it's a thankless job being the holder because only bad things can happen and you don't get paid any more money for it. But that record field goal that we kicked in 1970 was kicked by a fellow named Tom Dempsey, who was born with a half a right foot. Picture at the your arch. There's no front foot and no right hand. It just ended at his wrist. What was amazing, besides, it was 2 seconds to go in the game, we had no other choice, kicked the field goal and wound up being 63 yards, stayed for over 40 some years as a record. The previous record was 56, but what made it special was Tom Dempsey, the person who, growing up, being his parents would always encourage him to do things. Like he would come home and say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. They always told him, look, put the effort in. You could do it. Just try it. If it turns out you didn't do it, then you can't do it. But at least you didn't just take a defeatist attitude. So I think that association with Tom Dempsey reinforced that attitude of always putting an effort out there. And all the young folks here, don't just have a negative attitude about something. Oh, I can't do this, or I'm not smart enough, I'm too short, I'm too small. just if you really put your heart and soul into it, you'll be successful. And if not, then you'll go on to something else. But at least you put the effort in. So I say to all the young people here that I think back to my high school. I mean, you have a great opportunity here at Scotch Plains. The teachers are here for you. The coaches are here for you. Everything's laid out. It's just up to you to do it. And if you really put a lot in, you'll get a lot out. And I want to thank the committee for this is a very distinguished list. I don't know that I really deserve to be on that wall, but I'm proud to be on the wall. And I want to thank everybody for coming, especially my family, my wife and my son and the daughter and my 2 grandsons. I appreciate them coming all the way up from Cherry Hill area for this ceremony. Thank you.